All right, folks. So today we're going to be talking about coolant, and let me get my camera situated so it doesn't bounce around very much here. All right. So coolant, and it sounds like nothing that important. It sounds like maybe water or something like that, but it's not water. We're going to be talking about that in just a little bit here. And also, I'm going to cut a couple, about 3 more videos for you about the cooling system, and then we'll get into oil and also to the lubrication system. So all very critical parts to the mechanical part of the vehicle. So it's important that you know that in the get-go. And one of the things we do in the automotive industry is we actually do maintenance service, which it helps support the vehicle to have a very long life. And by not changing out these critical fluids, you can actually have a serious mechanical breakdown. So this is why I pretty much put this into it. All right, so let's go ahead and get started in this. I'm going to go ahead and share my PowerPoint, or my screen, I should say, on talking. We're going to be talking, like I say, about coolant. So let's go ahead and get started here. Okay, so coolant. This is something that is unique to the vehicle. So I would. I'm not trying to, tell you what to do or anything, but do your own research. I'm a big believer in doing your own research, but your vehicle, it has a specific requirement for that, as far as the oils and also all the fluids, really. And coolant is one of them. If you put the incorrect coolant in your vehicle, you can actually have corrosion get a little bit worse. Some of the coolants can be hard in some of the aluminums, so you need to make sure you use the correct stuff, and we'll get into that in just a little bit here. So so one of the things about coolant, and like I said before, oil, it has coolant has a property that actually, and it's also an antifreeze too. Sometimes we call it antifreeze, but it has an anti-freezing point. And what I mean by that, we can bring the temperature down without the actual fluid becoming solid. And that's one of the things that we want to make sure. You get back east where it gets very cold in the winter, and they have other things that actually help with that. We'll talk about in the cooling system part of it. But you have possibilities of getting to that 30 degrees where water starts freezing and it starts to turn to solid, and then we have other problems. Our water pump can't work, and there's all kinds of ill effects that can happen. So it has a kind of an anti-freezing point to it, and that comes with the concentration of it. Now, coolant isn't a 100%. If you were to put 100% coolant in your vehicle, it could actually cause it to overheat. So let's talk about that a little bit before we go any farther. In most vehicles, we have a 50-50 blend. And what I mean by that is 50-50, and we've got 50 parts percentage, let's put it that way, 50% of water, or which I don't want you to take tap water and do it like that. Tap water has, so depending where you're at, can actually have some really harmful things in it, and it could have metals, it could be all kinds of, like chlorine and stuff like that, which they use to actually keep it from, and fluorides and stuff, keep us kind of supposedly healthy. And then we have a 50% of actual antifreeze coolant. And this antifreeze coolant is what actually has a different property. Now, water has a property of boiling, one, and water also has a property of expelling heat, whereas coolant or antifreeze actually absorbs heat. So if you were to put 100% antifreeze coolant in your vehicle, thinking that, hey, more is better, you can actually do it harm, because it's not going to want to get rid of the heat. And we'll get more of how it gets rid of the heat in our cooling system section. We want to kind of concentrate on coolant right now. So with that 50-50 blend, which is generally, most of the manufacturers go, there are, I should say, a few manufacturers that actually go for a 60-40. Okay, so please, this is where I say, do your own research, look at your documentation on your vehicle or the customer's vehicle, and make sure you're putting the right stuff in, and we'll get more into that in just a little bit, and also the right blend that you need to, and how often you should be actually servicing this. And there's a couple options for doing that too. All right, so there again, we on the other spectrum, as far as, that was freezing. Now we're going to the actual, we're getting a little more into the boiling points. Now, water will boil at 212 degrees Fahrenheit, and we do go above that in our cooling systems. We can get up to 230, and if we had 100% water in it, in the vehicle or in the cooling system, we would actually cause that to just boil over. And this is one of the things we use, is the actual antifreeze coolant, because that has a property of not allowing it to boil. Well, there's one other things we do with that too, and we'll cover that in the cooling system section of it. But concentrating again still on the coolant, so it has that property. Okay, so antifreeze and a kind of boil to it. So, and then there's different, like I said before, there's different types. This is one example. This is Havalines, and we'll get into what the oat means in just a second, but it's an organic, kind of property to it. And this is one of the types. And this actually, if you look at the bottle, it says 5 years or 150,000 miles, which, kind of whichever comes first. Now, this, I take with a grain of salt. My personal is every couple of years, I actually either do a recycling type section or I do a complete change out on it, just to keep my vehicles in good working order. All right, it's almost like oil changes. You don't do it whenever you feel like it, you do it at a regular schedule. And then here's, extended life. This one is actually a pre-diluted. You can buy it at the store with already the distilled, or denatured type of waters. I shouldn't say denatured water, that's an alcohol, but distilled type water instead of tap water. And then you have this 55-45 blend. This is just depends, like I say, on the manufacturer. So this here is a Mazda, and it's specific for Mazda. Mazda can actually do some of them like 60-40, 60% antifreeze, 40% of the water or distilled type water that's put in. So it's already blended for you, and you can pour it right in. One of the things I want to kind of discourage you from is that universal coolant. That universal coolant, man, that can have all kinds of different additives in it, and it could be harmful to your actual cooling system. So try to stay with, if you're in the middle of nowhere and that's all they have, of course we're going to go with it. I might even go with just straight water for just a short bit, and then when I get it back to someplace I can service it, I'll actually change it down to a 50-50 blend again and get back to where I was before. And this is not a different, again, I'm this is a 50-50 and this is an embittered type. Not all not all coolants is labeled embittered, and there's different, like I say, chemicals that are in the actual antifreeze itself. How do we test to see it, make sure it's the right concentration? There's a couple different ways. This is one method, It's a quick, easy. The tool for this is simple. Sometimes if you buy a kit, as they call it, the parts stores, they'll throw this in with it. You know, they'll put in a drain pan, they'll give you some antifreeze, and they'll take the antifreeze back. That's another thing, folks. Make sure you dispose of the antifreeze properly. You don't just pour it in the flower bed or any down the drain. This is actually considered hazardous waste, and it needs to be disposed of properly. And we actually went over that a little bit in the SB too. So looking at the concentration, and depending how this little lever here floats is what the freezing point, and if you flip that gauge over to the other side, it'll actually tell you the boiling point too. This is another device. It's a little more expensive, and it's, I should say, a lot more expensive. The other one is, cheap as all get out. This one is actually more expensive. It is more precise, and I see this more in fleet operations. So it's a refractor. You put a little dab of coolant or antifreeze down inside. You look through the prism, and it will tell you the approximate amount of, and usually it gives you a fair, and it's time to rechange or go into recharge. That means you're going to boost up the antifreeze. It's more water than it actually is antifreeze. Another device is actually checking for the pH level of the coolant. We want a balanced pH. If we have too much of an acid side, it will start eating away on things. And this can eat away on head gaskets. It can eat away and on, whatever the soft metals are, aluminums will start etching away on that too. And what we're looking for, and this is another thing that we do look at too, is, believe it or not, if after a period of time, you can actually build up a voltage in the cooling system, just because we have, with a just like a battery, we have two dissimilar metals, and then we have the coolant, which can be considered electrolyte. When the coolant goes across two dissimilar metals, it can actually build up a charge. And this is usually from coolant's been in service for a while. And there's quick little tests, and they make little testers like this also that actually check the, you kind of push it down, or you can just take a voltmeter, put the voltmeter negative on a battery post, and then open up the radiator cap. Well, of course, only open the radiator cap when it is cool. Do not open it when it's hot, because it's going to be under pressure. So you take the cap off, you kind of put the probe down and the positive side of your voltmeter down, kind of dangle it in the coolant. And if you start seeing there's different specifications on this, but generally when I see voltage actually in the cooling system, it's getting time. I don't want to get specific to, it's gotta, if it's over a volt, then you got to change it out. It can be less than that. Yeah, so this is a couple different quick tests. The little floating ball or a actual lever is probably the quickest, easiest, and less expensive one, instead of going to the refractor or this device here too. You can actually get pH strips, and that's what a lot of fleets do. And they have a little strip that they take a little bit of cooling out of the cooling system, put the strip down into it, and if they see a change of color in the strips, then they know, is it good, is the pH balance correct for the actual system too. And like I said, whenever we have, this is kind of showing what I was just talking about building up electrolysis. And this is very common. I actually was at the Santa Ana yard over for the fleet, and I was doing an electrical class, kind of a basic electrical class at it, and when I was in the class talking, and I was talking about just electricity, one of the service personnel, actually he's a manager now, he was concerned about some of the police fleet, they couldn't keep radiators or heater cores inside. We'll talk more about that in the cooling system in a minute here. But he said they were just, holes would be developed in it and then they get leaks. And what I encouraged him to do was to actually do that. It's a little electric test, electrical test. And what we do, like I said, dangle that down in the coolant, and we were getting 6 volts out of the system. So he knew then that, oh, geez, I got to change out the coolant more often. He was going by word of mouth, and hey, it's got lifetime coolant in it, and I don't have to change it out. Yes, you do. So that's kind of another. So there's the test strips I was just talking about too. You can actually go through and see if the coolant, the percentage of ethylene glycol. So that's, and I probably stepped too far advanced, but ethylene glycol is the main ingredient in coolant, and ethylene glycol is that that actual makeup of the coolant itself, and this is what makes is a big property of it. The colors and the additives, we have anti-foamers in it, we have lubricants in it for the water pump, and other little things that the specific to the manufacturer. That's the big part. And we can check the concentration of the ethylene glycol by the actual floating lever or the balls floating, or this actually test strip here too. So this kind of gives us a good indication of where we're at as far as the concentration, and also with the, these usually have multiple layers on these little test strips here, and they can actually tell you the pH at the same time too. So that is pretty much about the coolant, and there's is one of the serviceable parts, and this is what needs to be done often. Not, I would definitely be doing tests and your service work, checking to make sure that it had the right concentration and it is not developing a into an acid. This is just over time, things can actually do that. And also make sure it's not creating a voltage, which then it can start taking away on the soft metals and also your head gaskets and stuff like that as you go along. So again, just kind of a wrap up of coolant. It's in your cooling system, it is a blend. The blend of ethylene glycol, your additives are all specific to the manufacturer. You are not putting in 100% ethylene glycol coolant. You're actually putting a blend, whether it be a 50-50, 45, 55, or a 60-40. That's all specific to the manufacturer. How do I find out what my vehicle needs? I look at the owner's documentation, owner's manual, or I can look at service documentation in either an ALLDATA, shop key, all kinds of different types of lookup material. And also you can actually look it up online. A lot of times they have a good source for that. Or, the other part is you can go straight to the dealer. And sometimes the dealers will actually post it online too. So those are, you want to make sure you put the right stuff in. And like I said before, you don't want to cause any harm to the manufacturer. And I would caution to more often a service than less often a service. Okay. So hopefully that was helpful, and I will be posting this in just a little bit, and I will be talking to you soon in the next segment of videos that we're doing on this week. Talk to you soon.